Gaza is, of course, a big issue for Humza Yousaf, the Scottish First Minister. It's also a big issue here at talkTV that we will continue to talk about, because there are horrendous things happening there. There are really dreadful things happening there, and there are still over 100 different hostages that are being held by Hamas terrorists in Gaza. And one person who knows all about this, very sadly, is Ashley Bakshi, whose cousin Agam Berger is there. Ashley very kindly joins me now. Ashley, thank you for joining me on talkTV.
Hi.
Hi there. You were in Parliament this week, and I know that this was being talked about. Just before we talk about this to one another, I just want to play a little clip of what happened there in Parliament.
What if they are pregnant? What if they are being used as sex slaves? We have already seen rumors on Palestinian social media that time is being sold to civilians to spend time with them. Last week, Hamas released another one of its evil videos with clearly scripted texts where we can see Dawan, 31, and two of Agam's friends, Daniela and Karina, both 19 as well, speaking. Alongside the joy of seeing a sign of life, we couldn't help but notice that one of them seemed a bit swollen in her face, and the first unimaginable thoughts that were in our minds were about pregnancy. We need them out of there now.
Very, very powerful testimony at Parliament there. And Ashley, just tell us what happened on the 7th of October, and tell us about the horrendous living nightmare that you've been having since then. It's just, I'm so sorry for you and your family.
Thank you. Before I speak about Agam, I would, just watching what you just showed, brought up something that just happened on my social media just a few minutes ago. I was just looking through my Instagram, and somebody, this is how vicious these people are, somebody commented on my social media with like smiley faces and clown emojis. Haha, she's pregnant now. Like we are continuing to relive this fear all the time. Also on social media, we are being targeted as families of hostages. It really is a nightmare what's going on social media. And so I just wanted to bring that up.
That's dreadful. I really question why anybody would send you anything other than complete support. And I'm sorry that that has happened. I don't know why people do that. It's just cruelty. It's horrific. Agam's 19, if I remember correctly. Just tell us what happened on the 7th of October with those horrendous Hamas terrorist attacks.
So that's her, beautiful Agam. And you may have seen on the cover of the Daily Mail just a few weeks ago some of the images. So that was the image that was on the cover of the Daily Mail. We saw that she had witnessed the murder of 16 of her friends. We saw that she was injured. We have images of her being taken away in a car. We can see her pajama pants are covered in blood, including on her backside, which obviously is our biggest nightmare. It's important for me for people to see who Agam really is.
So I should say that some people are watching on TV, some people are listening on the radio. We broadcast on both of those, but what you're doing now is you're holding up a beautiful photograph of Agam there playing the violin, and a very accomplished violinist.
That's right. So she plays the violin. She's a really, she's a 19-year-old teenager. She took a year off to volunteer with special needs children and the less fortunate. She dreamt of peace with all nations. We are a peaceful family. We are people who want peace. We do have some sign of life from her. That was way back in November when the first round of released hostages came out. They had told us they had seen her, they had been with her.
So just to be clear, there were I think 3 people who were hostages who were held with her. What did they tell you about what is going on with Agam?
So again, we've been advised not to go into too much detail because we're afraid that everything could put her in jeopardy. But
just tell us what you can tell us. There's no pressure to tell us what you've been told not to tell us. That's absolutely fine. Okay. Totally understand that.
So what we do know for sure is she was held in a home with a family. She was held in a Palestinian home. There were children there. And then we also know that she was moved to the terror tunnels before the round of release. And she was waiting. She thought she was next because the people that were with her in the tunnels were being released, and she thought she was next. Her day never came. We do know that the injuries around her mouth that we saw from the days of October 7th healed. So we know that she was relatively, okay, walking, talking. So we know she's there, we know she's alive, and we know she needs to come home. Obviously, at Parliament this week, we were talking about specifically the sexual violence from October 7th. And so if we know, there have been independent investigations. At the beginning, Israeli women were coming out and testifying, and the first responders were testifying, but nobody was believing Israelis for some reason. But once the New York Times provided independent investigation, so now it is confirmed there was gang rape, there was sexual violence, and this was only on one day, October 7th. That was 8 hours, 10 hours that the terrorists were roaming our country. They've been there already now for 119 days, I believe it is. That's, those are our biggest fears. If they were able to do that in one day, what are they able to do in just about 4 months? Yeah.
The not knowing must be horrendous.
It really is. And also, alongside the not knowing, it's also the fact that we are being faced with people who are denying that there are hostages for some, I don't understand it. We have been seeing people, rip down the kidnapped signs. And like I just said, people sending us the meanest, cruelest messages over social media. So we're being targeted, and our loved one is held hostage. It's the worst situation anybody could ever be in. And in addition to it, people are saying that we're making it up, that it's not true, that we deserve it. It's so painful. And it's so, what I feel like as an Israeli right now, and as a hostage, a family member of a hostage, I don't understand how people don't see what we see, that this could all end. You spoke about the terrible images coming out of Gaza, and I feel for all those people, all those innocent people who are suffering tremendously in Gaza. This could all end by just releasing our 136 hostages. There are 136 people still there. And for the terrorist organization to just surrender. I don't understand how people don't see this.
And you're an innocent family, a peace-loving family that are caught up in this. Tell us just how important it was for these activists and for these families to talk to Parliament this week, and tell us what they said.
So it's funny that I should call myself an activist. I'm a makeup artist. That's my job. I should be doing my job. But for the past 4 months, since October 7th, I have been traveling from country to country, speaking with people in government, on media, firstly raising awareness for the hostages so that people don't forget, because at the beginning there was a bit of talk about them. It's slowly people are getting used to the fact that we have hostages in Gaza. But when we speak to members of Parliament or to people in the United States in the government, basically what we're asking is for them to use any power that they can, any leverage that they have, to continue pushing through the Qataris, through the Egyptians, whatever, however can be pushed to get the hostages out. And the deals that we see back and forth on the media, none of us know where we stand. We also ask that these foreign governments continue to support Israel, because the more Israel knows that it has support from our allies in the West, I think the more likely our government will be able to actually make a deal to release our hostages. So it's very complicated. It's very complex. We understand that the two target objectives of Israel right now is to eliminate Hamas and to release our hostages. We understand that it's very difficult to do the two simultaneously. And as Israelis and as family members, we want both objectives to be accomplished. But we know that our hostages, for them, the time is running out. It's going to take a long time to eliminate Hamas. We need to eliminate them, but it will take a long time. Our hostages don't have the time. Like I said in that video that you played, what if they're pregnant?
Yeah.
What if they're sick?
Yeah.
We haven't seen the Red Cross
and there
get
are
involved.
hostages that are elderly. There are hostages that need medical attention. There are people who need medical equipment to be used on them. I wonder, you have been an absolutely tireless activist, and it's really interesting you mentioned that in regard to you just want to do your day job. You just want to be a makeup artist. You don't want to be doing all this advocacy because you want Agam back. I just think back to the Boko Haram horrendous insurgency in July 2009. Militant Islamist jihadist rebels started an armed rebellion against the government of Nigeria. They took hundreds of girls, and we saw loads of celebrities. We saw Michelle Obama. We saw all sorts of people right across the world holding up signs saying, "Bring back our girls." You must ask yourself, where are those celebrities now? Where are those political leaders? Where are those people saying, "Bring back not just the women, but also the men and the children who've been kidnapped by Hamas terrorists"?
Absolutely. You raised, a really on point right now point. Like I said, I've been using my social media as well. And one of the videos that I put up just a few weeks ago was of Angelina Jolie speaking about how rape is a war crime, should never be used in war. And she talks about all these conflicts around the world. And yet, since October 7th, she has been silent. You spoke about Michelle Obama holding up the sign, "Bring back our girls." Nobody outside Jewish communities across the world are speaking about exactly this, about the crimes against humanity, about rape is not resistance, and all these things. And I ask myself, and this is why I think, I live in Israel, but the Jewish communities all over the world are feeling the rise in anti-Semitism. And I think this is reminding us of those days that we were told about from 80 years ago, 100 years ago, the Holocaust, and how the silent majority, and they didn't help, and how were people silent. And I think this is what we're feeling just as a community. People don't understand, there's only like 15 or 16 million Jews in the whole world. And we just feel like we're the only ones speaking on our behalf. Where is everybody? You raised exactly the point that I think all Jews are feeling all over the world right now.
Do you feel part of that as anti-Semitism, or worry that people will be, celebrities think if I stand up for Israeli hostages that somehow there'll be a backlash or something for politically correct reasons? I mean, what do you think are the reasons behind that?
I definitely think it's a combination of a few. I definitely think there is a strong anti-Semitism wave right now. It was probably in the closet, and now in the name or in disguise of support for the Palestinian people, it's all coming out. I think it's important to say that I support the Palestinian people. You can be anti-Hamas and support the Palestinian people.
Of course,
in fact, it's quite the opposite.
Free Palestine from Hamas, that's what I say.
Exactly. So if you do support the Palestinian people, you should believe that by kidnapping 130 or 241 hostages, that's not going to bring a better life for the Palestinians. Absolutely. We can all agree on that. I think it's also a combination of the cancel culture, the woke radicalism on campuses that we're seeing, but definitely the cancel culture where many people are afraid, but yet we have seen many celebrities say "Free Palestine" or show images of the awful conditions of the Palestinians. So when you only present one side and you completely ignore why we have this war right now, you completely ignore the fact of October 7th, you don't condemn it, you don't condemn hostages, then I have no other choice but to call you an anti-Semite.
Yeah. And that's a very strong message, Ashley, but it's one that I agree with. And I think that, you've got to be consistent in these things. Can you just tell us what life is like for your family? Because, you're a makeup artist, you're a young woman, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to have a nice life, but this is just hanging over you in such a horrendous way. You're thinking of Agam all the time. What's a day in the life like for you now these days?
Well, so I just want to say that Agam's parents are not here speaking to you right now because they just simply can't. They just don't have that energy, and there's so many families who don't have a voice for them. I am lucky enough to be born and raised in Canada and to have my English, and so I feel comfortable to come and interview with you. But not only that, because I am a cousin, I am further removed. So I'm able to come here and do this. Her parents, her sister, she has a twin sister. I mean, they are just not able. What I can say about myself, you know, a lot of people ask, how do I take care of myself in times like these? I don't cry when I speak about Agam because I just stay super focused about my mission. When is it that I break down? It's when I sit in the room and I hear the families of the other hostages behind me talking about their loved ones. That's when I just break down and cry. It's like I stay focused on my mission for my cousin, but when I hear stories of others, it's really, really, really difficult. And there's definitely an emotional toll for me as well, being surrounded by these difficult stories all the time. And at Parliament, hearing about the firsthand testimonies of the first responders, of the people who dealt with the bodies, of the police investigation, talking about the horrific things that they saw on bodies, of bodies being booby-trapped, and things that I wouldn't say here on TV. You know, these are things from the 47-minute video of the atrocities that there's a reason we don't speak about it for everyone, because we don't want the entire world to be suffering from this PTSD. But unfortunately, I am surrounded by it. I am surrounded by it. So I know that once Agam will come home and I'll have more time to focus on myself, I will definitely need to take some air.
Yeah, certainly. Ashley, you've spoken brilliantly today. I have just the hairs on the back of my neck are just raising. I wish you were my cousin, because you've spoken so incredibly bravely, clearly, passionately, directly today. And I want people to listen to you, and I'm going to talk to my producer in the break and make sure that this goes out far and wide on our social channels, because you've spoken brilliantly today. And I want you to be really proud of yourself. And I want to say thank you for speaking, and I wish you all the very best, and to your family, and let's hope Agam gets home very, very soon.
Thank you so much. Really, God bless you. Thank you for giving me the time and the opportunity.
Thank you so much. That is Ashley Bakshi there, who is a cousin of Agam Berger, who is being held by Hamas terrorists at the moment as a hostage.